The story of the Asylum Project begins in a great marble hall called the Genesis Room. This place, accessible by all of the asylum's inhabitants, houses 100 unbound handwritten volumes telling of an experiment which gave birth to the society as the people have come to know it. Each book, though varying in size and content, begins in the same mundane manner. The first 6 pages, marking the first 6 days, read as an elementary questionnaire, asking questions such as what color are the walls in your room, how many windows are there, and what furniture do you have, the only variation in the answers given being the penmanship that wrote them down. It is not until the 7th day that the questions are dropped and volumes begin to fill with a more personal approach. The languages change as well, from mathematics to musical notation, poetry and syntax, illustrations and ideas filling each new page. According to these volumes, the nature of this experiment was simple. It was a long moment to oneself, a year in solitude. Everything one needed was provided: food, clothes, shelter, a bed. The interaction with the outside world put on a manner of meditation, chance to reconnect with oneself without the extrinsic influence. The volumes also tell of how the departures from the solitude varied. Some volumes are small, short, incomplete, the language speaking of concerns for loved ones or a sense of feeling alone, thus out of place in one's own skin. These people did not stay very long. Other volumes are longer, more prolific, though not necessarily complete. Only 52 of the original 100 saw the year through, as shown by the essay on the final pages. The people were released from their quarters and asked to complete a final assignment to tell of what experience they had during these days of solitude and how they intended to use it in their everyday lives now that the experiment was over. All of the people wrote of how they relished having the opportunity. They spoke of the intention to practice a moment of solitude for a short time every day to share the benefits of their experience with friends and family. 23 chose to stay behind and build a new culture, with this moment of solitude being the core of their new civilization. Thus the true asylum project had begun. First they brought their families back with them, all convening to write the rules and traditions of their new society. The Genesis Room was built to house the volumes, the genesis of this new culture. A tower was erected to house the new volumes to the generations to come. It all came together perfectly, a society of its own, a utopia so well run, hidden from the rest of the world. Everybody knew the rules and nobody complained or questioned tradition. So flawless was the asylum that there were times, if you listened closely, you could hear the whispers of the inhabitants asking the most pressing question of them all: are we even real? The asylum was so named because it was meant to be a refuge from the shortcomings of the outside world. One such evil the founders hoped to abolish was that of inequality. Though traditions of the asylums, they built a means to grant all the same opportunity to find their place within the walls. Though individuality is encouraged, all lives are lived with the same structure. Children live with their parents for the first 4 years of their life. In the 5th year, they take residence in the asylum's learning annex, where they learn to work a trade, such as the laborer's work, and morality, ethics, and politics, such as the immortals are meant to uphold. Though the opportunity is universal, the outcome is not. One must be prepared to follow the path they are meant for. In the 10th year, one is encouraged to focus on a trade, though it is not required. By the 15th year, however, one must choose the occupation, for it will be the basis of their education, until they enter into the trial of solitude. It is in the 23rd year that one will enter the Tower of Solitude, which determines your status in the asylum. First class is the immortals, the people who saw the entire year through. They are the most highly respected of the asylum's inhabitants, the strongest in mind and body. Second class is the laborers, the people who left solitude before the year was over. Because all people are of value, they are kept in the asylum to provide for the inhabitants. They are the farmers, the hunters, the seamstresses that stitch the clothes the people wear. The founders believed that through these traditions one could be guided to their life's purpose rather than forced to live an aimless life due to a misplacement of birth. The inhabitants of the asylum each belong to a caste, determining their status and responsibility within its walls. Caste is determined by completion of the trial of solitude. It is through this that destiny is earned. The immortals. The completion of the trial earns a person great respect as well as great power and responsibility. It is the immortals who carry out the laws of the land, who rule to ensure life within the asylum walls remains fair and just. The immortals also define ethics and moral codes of the society. The people turn to the strong-minded for guidance and counsel, treating them with reverence, for they are the fabric of the asylum walls. The immortals also inherit privilege, for it is they alone who are allowed to leave the asylum walls. Whether it is for trade or recreation, the immortals relish the privilege to take advantage of it quite often. Some take lovers outside the asylum walls. They may bear the children of an outsider, but they never bring one inside. It violates their sanctuary. Another privilege is the progeny. An immortal is allowed to carry on their bloodline indefinitely. That is, they can bear as many children as they wish, giving many chances to continue their bloodline into the most respected status. They are highly fashionable, typically sociable. It is they who bring the individuals together as a unit. As the people who run the asylum, it is their duty to bring all together in this utopia to keep their sanctuary as a haven. The elite. There are occupations in the asylum that require perfect trust of those who perform. These jobs require an additional meditation, this one structured heavily on the moral code and the importance of trust. Such occupations include doctors, guards, lawmakers, and judges. These people have earned the position not only of upholding the laws and traditions of the asylum, but also to create the codes by which the inhabitants live. Such a position is not to be entered into lightly. The perfect trust is required before one may gain a title. Due to the nature of the elite occupations, residence is spread throughout the asylum, usually designated to districts, or, in the case of the Solitude Tower guards, a room in the tower. Royalty. The royal families of the asylum are the direct descendants of the 23 founders. Only the royal children stay with their families to be groomed for succession of the royal positions. First, there are the emperors and empresses who rule the 4 asylum walls, east, south, west, and north. It is they who have the final say in which laws are passed, which moral codes are to be followed. They often rule concurrently with siblings, working together to bring the best to the asylum. A decision is made through each other's counsel and understanding, bringing a balance to the society. The heirs are the counts and contestas of the asylum. The royals rule over the counties, their duties to provide the happiness of the inhabitants. They bring fashion, entertainment, and culture to the asylum, working to keep every one of their counties satisfied. Most of the gossip of the asylum starts with the county rulers. They tend towards a very open lifestyle, always happy to provide fodder for their subjects' talk. Because they will hold the ranks of the asylum rulers, their education throughout their younger years hold a strict focus on etiquette, morals, and the balance of the individual needs to the needs of the group. Should one of the royal children not complete the year in the trial of solitude, they are allowed to become teachers of the learning annex with the approval of the tribunal. Royalty rarely marry, and such unions are typically political. Though monogamous relationships are common, it is not out of the norm to have open relationships between several consenting partners. Laborers build, harvest, shape, trade, ensuring that the needs of the asylum are provided. They are also teachers of their trade, grooming students to make a living of the path that they are meant to follow. The people who labor are honored as the people who create reality from an idea. Laborers are all allowed 1 child each, sterilized by the elite doctors once the child is born and/or paternity is confirmed. This is used as a mean of population control in the asylum, as well as to allow the laborer to keep focus on their trade. The laborer does not become overwhelmed by caring for too many children. Along with passing down the skills of the trade, the laborers are also responsible for teaching the basic curriculum, language, arts, mathematics, and history. They are allowed to teach more advanced subjects such as chemistry, geometry, and engineering, only after further training and approval from a tribunal held by the rulers of their county. These people are called the redeemed, for they are allowed to teach skills used primarily by the immortals. The unawakened. Those who have not yet reached the age to meditate in the trial of solitude are called the unawakened. Their duties are to learn and hone their skills as they grow. The unawakened live a dorm lifestyle, placed with peers of at least 4 per room. This is to help them learn to share their space as they grow, as well as teaching them social skills. The boys and girls are separated, with the boys living in the north and south annexes, while the girls reside east and west. 4 times a year, the unawakened return to their families for a 1-month break from their curriculum. It is at this time that they are taught the family business, adding the option of inheriting their family's responsibilities. The Genealogy Tower. In the perfect center of the asylum walls lays the Genealogy Tower. It is here that the Genesis Room stands, home to the books of the founders of the asylum. On the upper floors of the tower, the books of every inhabitant of the asylum make their home. In the books are the family trees, as well as the journals from the trial of solitude. In the north and south wings of the tower are the books of the immortals, while the laborers' books are kept in the east and west wings. Should the top floor become full, with more space needed, contractors are hired to build a new floor. It is a grueling process, but the engineers have created a roof that is easily raised when needed. Currently, the Genealogy Tower holds the books for 33 generations. The Tower of Solitude. The Tower of Solitude is the only structure in the asylum which reaches across the central walls through to the outer walls. Its shape is that of a cross, spanning all 4 directions, east, south, west, and north. The first 2 floors of this structure are solid brick, forming gateways between the empires of the wall. Each hall holds 2 stories of 100 solitary rooms to either side, every room taking 2 stories each. The first floor of every room contains a kitchen, stocked with food requested, a washroom to clean, and a large bedroom for sleeping. The top floor has a study for arts and meditation, with a balcony for fresh air and a view. Any supplies needed for the room, easel for the painter or a piano for the musician, is delivered to the room at the individual's request. All food, water, clothes, or other necessities are provided as needed. Many rooms, though never all, are occupied at a time. Because of its open placement and the strict rules of the trial of solitude, the tower is heavily guarded at all times by the elite guards of the royal bloodline. 4 guards take each wing and floor. Aside from guarding the open spaces of the tower, the guards also keep an ear out for knocks from individuals requesting to be released from the trial. They also do bed checks to ensure all are in good health and take and fulfill requests for the rules. Empires. The city walls are separated into 4 empires, each territory stretching out clockwise from its palace. The palaces are located in the 4 corners corresponding to the place on the compass, east, south, west, and north. The palaces are made of stone, the largest and tallest of the structures in the city walls. Every palace holds many units, each providing a family home comfortably housing 10 people. The units are inherited through the family after the title of emperor or empress is gained. The bottom floors of these palaces house the imperial guard, built as a fortress to protect all that are housed within the palace. The largest and most heavily guarded palace is the East Palace, for it is only through the east wall that one may enter or exit the city. When entering the city, one must walk through a unicrystal labyrinth, entering from the east, finding their way to the heart of the labyrinth, which leads to the entrance of the city. One must follow the path of this labyrinth to leave as well. This is considered a form of meditation on the city's secrecy. Counties. Boxing the compass finds the borders of each county, run by the counts and contestants of the city. The homes and businesses of the elite define the start of each border, the remainder of the land falling clockwise until the next border is defined. The counties are further divided into districts, defined by the borders between the outer wall, the learning annex, and the central wall. The smallest territory of a county district is run for 2 miles, the remainder of the land falling into the genealogy tower where all counties and empires meet. Being the widest span of land available, the counts and contestants have their private home lined private homes lined along the borders between the outer walls and the outside world. They often travel between three areas of the asylum, having a room in the dwellings of the learning annex in the central wall, though rarely keeping their own private quarters. Due to the nature of their occupation, royalty often travels between counties, but rarely between empires. The outer walls. Immortals, elite, and royalty make their home in the outer walls. The border between the city walls and the outside are exclusively royalty homes, heavily guarded, though breaks in the walls or other breaches are unheard of. Each royalty has at least 2 private guards, one for day, one for night, to protect their dwelling. The homes of the outer wall are large, comfortable for many children. The residential buildings are separate from the business buildings, with the exemption of the elite, such as doctors, lawmakers, guards, and other high-demand occupations. Immortal dwellings of all types are lavishly decorated, made of high-grade material, often including private training areas of the family's inherited extracurricular trade. It is not unusual for a family to have a farm of exotic animals bred solely for the elite or royal consumption. Businesses are usually owned and passed down through immortal families. Such businesses tend to cater to fashion, art, animal collections, music, sports, and entertainment. Learning Annex. The unawakened of the asylum spent what is called their meditative years inside the walls of the Learning Annex. Though they travel through the city to learn their trade hands-on, most of their time is spent inside these walls to learn the curriculum of math, sciences, and language arts. The unawakened spend their nights here, kept in dorms of 4 children per unit. This grouping is to help build social skills and encourage teamwork, as dorm mates are also grouped together in curricular activities. Dorm mates are grouped together by birth date, each dorm comprising children who were born of the same month. When the month ends, the schooling begins, early days when children get together in a classroom to begin their lessons before they visit the other parts of the city to learn their trade. The Learning Annex is separated into 4 parts, much like the city is separated into empires. The north and south walls of the Learning Annex are for the male students, while the east and west walls house the female students. At the beginning of each season, the Learning Annex is shut down to allow students to return home and visit with their families. For the children who are born at the cusp of these seasons, their curriculum begins a month later, with the grouping similar to other children's. The central walls. The center of the city holds the densest population, where the laborers live and work their trade. Residential and business buildings are one and the same. Tall, well-populated buildings for small family homes. The farms where vegetables and animals are raised for food are the only exceptions to these structures. The laborers not only are in charge of their own trade, but also have the responsibility of educating the unawakened with the Learning Annex in the basic and the trade-specific curriculum. They pass on the importance of history by placing great importance of the family tree. While the elite are guardians of the genealogy tower, the laborers are guardians and celebrators of the books. Perfection demands sacrifice, and the rules of paradise do not make an exception. While all human life is highly valued in the asylum, there is question as to who is at liberty to make the definition. When struck with illness of the mind or body, the meditation of solitude is put to a halt, and the soul who has displayed the weakness ceases to be viewed as a human life. They are stripped of their reproductive organs and their history books sent to the fire. They are called the lost souls, shadows of life wandering without aim or purpose. It was the early generations that dug and carved the small rooms of the underground. The current folk do not realize they lived an easier life, though to say so seems to be patronizing. The typical lifespan of a lost soul is merely a couple of years, perhaps up to 5 if they are strong against the ailments of a fatal nature. The quality of life is poor. They sleep on a dirt floor, rarely see the sun, feed off scraps if they are fortunate. Most lost souls are used in slavery, typically house slaves, though not uncommonly used for sexual purposes as well. The population of the lost souls is dense. Many do not have the spirit to realize that if they were to rise in revolt, they could easily outnumber all inhabitants of the asylum. Though the asylum is meant to be a sanctuary from evil, the royalty considers lost souls a necessary evil. The abuse the lost souls endure comes from all sides. The royalty that subjects them to slavery, the guards that ensure they stay underground. It is because of this abuse that attacks from these people are fairly common, which is why their presence is kept so guarded, lest there be an uprising of all castes against royalty for such a hypocritical practice. There is no public outcry now for such inhumane treatment as the lost souls are a well-kept secret. Only royalty is aware of the existence of the underground, and they are not lenient with those that allow the secret to slip. The rulers of the asylum claim some counteraction of the wickedness by offering mercy killings, that is, assisted suicides for the lost souls who do not wish to continue their harsh existence. In the center of the underground, located beneath the genealogy tower, are the suicide rooms. The most common method is chemical injection in a quiet room decorated with pleasant sunshine sights. If requested, a story will be told to the person, much like a lullaby is sung to a sleepy child. Others prefer a more dramatic exit from their world and opt for a hanging. The hangman believes it is because the spirit is so low that the lost soul feels the need to punish themselves in death. However, it has been whispered among the suicides that they prefer such a method as a mean to shock their killers. This is punishment, though the first step into the underground to the last breath drawn at the gallows. Punishment for imperfection, such cruel view of what was once considered human and should not be treated as anything less.